Hi guys, welcome back to The Learning Gardener. If you haven't been here before, which none of you have because this is my brand new pantry, my name is Pip. You will hear little clippity clops of Ladybird underneath me and probably soon Raffy Staffy, my dogs. This is the new pantry, so I thought I would give you guys a quick tour in here because I am about to start canning some tomatoes very shortly and running the freeze dryer. And when I run the freeze dryer, it's going to make a ton of noise, and the freeze dryer is in this room. It is quite a small room. It is a former bedroom that is off the kitchen. The kitchen is this way. These original makes it sound like they're some sort of fancy feature. These were cupboards that were in the original lounge room of the house, and we preserved them so that I could use them for the pantry. And the guys who fitted out the whole new kitchen, they fitted these and made new baseboards for them. So I thought I would show you what I've been, well, this is the first thing I worked on and I haven't really worked on it since. This room is in chaos. It still needs to have some building work done, so it still needs blinds. It doesn't have blinds, so these are normally always closed. It doesn't have skirting boards, and parts of the rest of the house doesn't have skirting board or blinds, and so there's still a lot of stuff happening. So to some extent I'm having trouble putting things away because I've got to keep them out of the builder's way, knowing that he has to move them to put the skirting boards on. And also I just haven't had time between Christmas and looking after my brother's kids for 5 days and living my life and being in the garden. So behind the camera is a little bit of chaos because there's 2 office tables. It doesn't really work to have 2 of them in here, so I'm going to have to work something else out because I have to slide the freeze dryer away from the wall every time I run it, so then it kind of partially obscures the door, and that's to ensure that the freeze dryer has proper airflow. So I might show you that, but we'll see. So just so you can quickly see, this is about to be used. It's pulled away from the wall about maybe a foot, and I've just moved this fan out of the way just so I can film here because, as I said, it's a small room. The trouble with this is that you can see there's a ducted air conditioning, which I put in when we were doing all the building work. But because this room is small and a freeze dryer produces a lot of heat, it's not really enough to keep it cool and happy. Well, it keeps it happy, but not cool in here. And probably not cool enough on a hot day like what we're going to be having over the next few days. So I have to have the fan blowing on the freeze dryer as well. And fans and freeze dryers is a whole nother thing. So the fan on the freeze dryer is dying. They are in the process of sending me a new one. They wanted me to change it over, and I was like, dude, I'm not stripping wires and reconnecting wires on a freeze dryer that costs thousands of dollars that should be working, that hasn't been used in 6 months and I've only had for 18 months. So that's a whole nother story. If you want me to go through the pros and cons of having a freeze dryer and some of the costs involved, I can do that in a separate video. I might touch on a few things today, but let's get into the pantry. So as you can see, this side is jam-packed full. There are 2 of these, you just can't see the other one open yet. And I'm thinking that I'm going to have to jam pack these full, but then I was kind of hoping they would get filled with jars as I was canning things out of the garden, but I haven't had time yet, so I basically just have a freezer full of tomatoes, which we're hopefully dealing with this weekend. And I was, again, hoping I was going to be freeze drying heaps now that I have solar, and therefore it doesn't cost me as much to run a load, because I worked out it was costing me something like $25 or $30 to run a load based on the cost of electricity in Australia, and I was like, this is not sustainable. So hopefully now it'll be cheaper. I haven't actually had a power bill yet, so we'll see. Anyway, so most of this is freeze dried, and I think I will have to start jamming things in just to make more room, just because this house has very little storage even after I added some, and obviously these are amazing to have. But all those big pots and pans and things, it's like, where do you put them? They take up so much space in the kitchen that you lose all the amazing cupboards that you have. Anyway, not complaining, just saying, if you preserve food and have equipment and all the cans and stuff, it's just, you need storage. So Up the top I have all my molds. Some of those are for the dogs, so they're like paw prints, so when I make them charcoal jellies or just like yogurt drop type things, they're there. And the reason I have dog paw prints is so I know who and what they're for, in the freezer. And there's just a whole bunch of other ones like snails and things like that. And I have a range of empty large glass bottles and huge glass jars, so I need to use some of those, but we've been moving and building and I just haven't got that far. And I think I have to realize that there really is a limit to how much I'm going to be able to get done this year, even though I have like really tried to get everything done before summer, like good luck. And I've really tried to have everything as organized as possible, and it's just me here, and life gets crazy, as you guys know, and there's just a limit to what I can do, and I need to just make peace with that. So we also have cake baking supplies like gum paste, sprinkles, nozzles for piping, cookie cutters. They're kind of, I think they're mostly here, but there's some sprinkles here and there's some food colorings and things like that in one of the other ones. I've got coffee filters, which I keep thinking I need to put on the powdered freeze-dried stuff when I then vacuum seal the cans so that the powder doesn't fluff up, but I forget every time. But it's there, and that's the intended use for it because I'm allergic to coffee and I don't like it either. And I've got little blender blitzer things that my mum gave me for Christmas. And there's a lot of things like that where I've either got a second pressure cooker for free or things like that that I haven't accommodated for space-wise that I now need to find a home for. Some recipe books and this is the Harvest Right, what are they called, Mylar bags. This is normally where my big water canning pot goes, and all this stuff fits inside except for the mandolin, but it's currently, well, not in use, but about to be in use. And then down below is mostly the grains and the flours. At the other house, we had trouble with ants when I first moved in, and there also occasionally were roaches because we live in a coastal area, so sometimes they just blow in. And so to prevent that, and we had tons of mold issues. So to try and protect the food that I had in the pantries, I bought these plastic boxes, and so then I just left everything in them. So this is my flour box, and this is like, I can't see the label on it now, but it's my oats and seeds. And just below we've got all the canning supplies, so like my 4 jars lids, my ball lids, canning, kilner lids. Generally I've had really good luck with canning. I haven't done a lot of it. Last year was my first year of ever trying. I had no failures to seal after I canned them. I did over time have one that when I went to get it from the pantry, the lid had popped off. So I thought that was pretty good. The only thing I wasn't thrilled with was sometimes I would get some little black residue on the underside of the lid, particularly with the blueberry syrup. So I probably won't use that recipe again. Yeah, but other than that, I was pretty happy. So this is where I keep all my canning lids and most of the new canning rings. The others I keep just in a box under the table because as yet I don't know where to put them. And then I have my dehydrator, which I never use anymore because I have a freeze dryer, so why would I use my dehydrator? I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to rehome this. Like, none of my friends have any interest in preserving food. We do have a great buyback shop at the tip, so if I take this down and say it's functional, they will sell it. Our local like secondhand goods store won't take this, and I don't really know what to do with it, whether it's worth keeping it, but probably not given I have a freeze dryer, but maybe given the freeze dryer is malfunctioning, it's worth keeping. I don't know. But then a lot of the things I freeze dry, I would never dehydrate anyway, so. And then down the bottom, I just have some large packets of lentils that I really need to put in Mylar bags, and some large bottles of vodka that I almost never drink from, and a couple of tomato paste and honey jars. But other than that, that's the first pantry cupboards done. So this is the top of the second and middle pantry shelves. These are all my freeze-dried bone broths and some freeze-dried contraband in the back there. So right at the back here we have some freeze-dried Sara Lee carrot cake and a mango cheesecake, just because I was experimenting. But this is all the bone broth, both puppy and human, that I have freeze-dried, and it is right up the top. So this pantry cupboard is all freeze-dried stuff, and there are some empty jars behind some of the other goods because I had to find somewhere to store everything. The problem with this pantry and my freezers are they're way too full. They're supposed to be empty so that as we're bringing produce out of the garden, I have somewhere to put them, and that has been a major problem this season. I had planned to do the pantry challenge, but it didn't work out because I've been trying to get on top of my autoimmune diseases for a long time. And I found a doctor who diagnosed me with leaky gut, which is what I thought I had, which was causing some inflammation problems. And part of the treatment for that is working out what foods I'm allergic to and sealing the gut and all of this sort of stuff, which I won't go into now. I can go into it in more details if you want. But essentially I had to do quite a long period of gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, and I was not allowed to eat a lot of fruit, and so most of the things I had canned either had sugar or fruit, or same with the freeze-dried, and so there was a lot of things I couldn't eat. And then when I did the allergy test, it came back that I was allergic to wheat, coffee, eggs, dairy, chicken, carrots, cabbage, salmon, crab, and millet, which is a gluten-free grain. And so there's a ton of stuff in my freezer that has carrots in it that I've made because they're gluten-free vegetarian. Or there's a ton of chicken in there. Or it's just, there was about 6 months where I was doing some sort of strict elimination type diet. So there was so much stuff that I couldn't eat from my pantry or from my freezer. And now I'm on the other side of that and there's still some stuff I can't eat. So I am going to do some testing to see if, now that I've been on the probiotics for long enough, if I can reintroduce some things like carrots. So the other day I used my bone broth for the first time, which has, I guess, carrot juice in it, and I was okay. So now I guess the next step is to try a carrot, and we'll just see how we go. But that's why some of the stuff that I've done still hasn't been used. For example, freeze-dried gluten-free toast that I had made into gluten-free garlic croutons. So I had basically mixed garlic, minced garlic with butter and toasted it so it was garlic bread, and then freeze-dried it. And I was planning to have this on salads, but I can't have egg, so I can't eat the bread, and I can't have dairy, so I can't have the butter, and I really don't think I'm getting dairy back. On the second from the top shelf, underneath the bone broth, we have a range of freeze-dried onions, some powdered mushroom, which I don't actually eat. This is oyster mushroom for the puppies. It is supposed to have really good medicinal purposes for the pups, but I often forget to put it in, so I really need to get on my game when I'm making their raw meals. I have some garlic. Now, I don't know that I'll ever freeze dry garlic again. What I tend to do is just buy the cloves that have already been peeled. You can buy them fairly cheaply in a 1 kilo bag and just chuck them in the freezer, and that seems to be the easiest option. This was a real pain because you really have to dice up the garlic to get it to freeze dry properly. I learned afterwards. And so a lot of this stuff is like concrete, and it was almost impossible to get the garlic smell out of the freeze dry, even after changing the oils and things like that. So I don't know that I do garlic again. There's a little bit of cauliflower and some portobello mushrooms behind the croutons. Again, I'm not a mushroom person, although I have been trying as part of fixing my gut to increase the number of vegetables and fiber and things like that I eat. So I will eat mushrooms on pizza with fake cheese now, but I haven't actually tried sprinkling that on because I'm scared that freeze-dried mushroom would be quite potent. So little steps, one thing at a time. I'm working on it. On this middle shelf, I have a range of mangoes. So these ones are diced freeze-dried mangoes. These were in theory for an MRE and it didn't really work out my plan, but it's still possible and I will get around to maybe trying. And I'm not sure that these freeze-dried enough. I think they're still a little sticky. But this is just mango that I pureed and then freeze-dried, which I probably won't do again. And I have powdered veggie stock. And I think I have more veggie stock up the top on the stock shelf. But again, I can't eat this because it has carrot in it. So all this work that I did to make my future life easier is being thwarted by food sensitivities and allergies. But I previously mentioned that I love freeze-dried mango used as croutons on a salad. And again, I was like, oh my God, I didn't freeze dry enough. Next year I have to get so many mangoes from Costco. And in the end, I did have enough because I couldn't eat the mangoes because I was doing the allergy testing. But I have bought something like 7 boxes of mango from Costco so far. And I really feel like I need to do some more. But I need to freeze dry the ones I have first because the freezer is pretty full. And that is what I'll be freeze drying later today. I have orange peels and lemon peels, powdered and whole. And I don't know if they're labeled, so I think I'll have to open them and do the sniff test. So always label. There's a little bit of yellow zucchini freeze-dried and left over. And then you've got things like, I think these are fading carrots. Yeah, and it seems, and this is not the first time I've heard this, that carrots actually bleach really badly, even if you keep them in a dark room, which these are in. But as you can see, these aren't really all that orange anymore. And yeah, I think I didn't label them because I thought it was going to be super obvious, but it's not super obvious. These ones are definitely carrots. The other ones, I'm less sure. I've got a bunch of capsicum. This is just the little one. There are multiple behind here. And then this is beetroot croutons, which again, the idea was to use it on my salad. And also, like, I got to think of some ways to use beetroots. I have a ton of beetroot out in the garden, and I've got to learn to make kimchi because I'm supposed to be eating fermented foods. The most common ones are sauerkraut and kimchi. Most kimchi has carrot in it, and most sauerkraut, well, all sauerkraut has cabbage. So I'm out for all of those. So I really need to learn to make beet kimchi. So if you have any great recipes, let me know. But in the interim, I need to do something with my beets so they're not just sitting there becoming huge. But these are still from last year. If we come down a level, most of this is zucchini. This one is zucchini from this year. So when I finally got the freeze dryer working, I had to pull it apart and spray some WD-40 in, and then it still needs a new fan. These are cucumbers from last year, and the puppies are barking, so I'm really sorry about the background noise. There is some celery and what is this? More cucumber by the looks of things, just in a smaller jar. A little bit of beets and a little bit of leek. Again, I've got a ton of leek out in the backyard. I need to process the leek, but I've been waiting for the freeze dryer to work. So there's been a lot of things that are waiting for the freeze dryer or waiting for space in the freezer. So hopefully very, very soon. This is, as I was saying, some more cake supplies. So this is all the colorings and things like that. We've got some KitchenAid attachments, some salt, the freeze dryer oil, which I didn't need to order this much, but I thought I'll order it while I'm ordering the freeze dryer so that I don't have to do another international postage, because I thought I'd change it more than I do. But I don't, so hopefully this doesn't go rancid. And then we are onto the bone broth. The lots and lots and lots of bone broth. This is all just human bone broth. So before the abattoir closed down, they gave me a whole bunch of bones because I was buying meat for the puppies from there. And because those bones are fresh, it made the most beautiful, dark, amazing bone broth. But again, I've been avoiding this because it has carrots in it, and I can't eat carrots. And obviously, that's a box of sugar. So this is the pantry setup, as you can see. This is the one that the kitchen guys put in, which I will take you through in a minute. that we haven't toured yet. So it is a proper pantry. The idea being this was where the doorway was into the, oh no, this was where the walk-in wardrobe was. So that the idea would be that if I ever sold this house and someone didn't want a pantry, they could easily turn this into a cupboard for their clothes and turn this back into a bedroom. This is the cupboard set that we still have to go through, but you can see we've got 3 of the double door cupboards that were originally in the house in the pantry. The 4th one is out in the garage, and it mostly just has the things that I have in mylar bags and a lot of empty jars in it. We are a little bit squished for room with where we can put the camera at the moment because the freeze dryer is in the way. Up the top I've got all my big jars. So this is a big jar of carrot. So if I don't get carrot back, if I fail the carrot test, and behind there, I don't know if you can see, there's sliced oranges that were freeze dried that I have no idea what I'm going to do with them, but it was an experiment. But what I'm going to do with all the carrot in the event that I can't get carrot back and that carrot remains off the food list, I will just powder that and give it to the puppies in their meals. They eat freeze-dried powdered vegetables much more readily than they eat other vegetables. So go figure. I've also got some apple slices, some onion, celery, and zucchini chunks. There are some potatoes behind here, and that's it. Coming down, this is my favorite part of what the freeze dryer does. This is the freeze-dried herbs. So the last time we tried to run the freeze dryer at the old house, it did not work. Now, full disclosure, that was my fault. I thought I had emptied the water drain. I had not. And something had fallen into the water drain and that sucked up the pipe when I went to finish the load. And that clogged the outlet drain, and then I could never unclear it. It became rusty. I had to get a new part. But then since then the fan has died, so that's been a lot of fun. But the load that failed was a load of dill, and I was like, no, all my dill. And I'm so glad that I panicked and just chucked it in the freezer. And by the time I had chucked it in the freezer, all the other herbs that were in that load with the dill had already defrosted and started to absorb the moisture from the air, because it has been so humid lately. It has been like to the point where it feels wet outside. So what I'm trying to do is turn the air conditioning on before I get anything out of the freeze dryer to suck all the moisture out of the air. But somehow the dill survived, and I recently freeze dried it. So I now have a couple of these larger jars filled with dill. My mum wants one, so that will take care of what I'm going to do with some of them. But I've got things like powdered broccoli, which is such a beautiful color and just looks so healthy, and I keep forgetting and think this is spinach. So just being in here with you guys will be great. It'll be a refresh from my brain of what's in here, because life's been so hectic lately. I think I've just kind of lost track of things. But we've got all your herbs. So we've got things like parsley and sage and green onions, shallots sliced up, and yeah, everything. My favorite of all the herbs, I will just go and show you because I did it the other day. I had my brother's kids for 5 days, and I had to go to Sydney for work and for vet appointment because Birdie's broken a toe, and it's been a palaver. Anyway, so I had to do something with my basil because there's so much outside, and I would keep meaning to make a pesto and I haven't got that far. But I really wanted to freeze dry it because freeze-dried basil is so good. When you have like an avo and tomato, instead of having to go out and chop up basil, you can literally just go and get this and you can crush it in your hand so it's like powdered or like finely chopped essentially, and it's like no hassle. It tastes, if not better than the fresh stuff, and it's so convenient. You have basil all year round. I have had, until recently, real trouble getting basil to germinate. Last year I couldn't get any to germinate, and we had trouble keeping it alive. This year I had trouble getting it to germinate, and now all of a sudden it's germinating, no problem, probably because it's so hot now. And we had a nearly 40-degree day the other day, and everything in the garden looked miserable, even though I'd watered it, except for the basil. The basil was like, woo, this is my life. But so I picked all of this the other day, and I was trying to get to Sydney, and I was like, come on, freeze dry, it doesn't normally take this long. And in the end I had to just stop the freeze dry load because we could not wait any longer, and it had been in there for like 16 hours, and herbs don't usually take that long. So I think that's just a product of the fan dying, that it's taking longer. So I just stuffed silica gels in the bottom. I know you're not really supposed to do this, and when I took them out they actually seemed really crunchy, so I think they're fine. But this is a full freeze dryer load of basil, so I will show you the before and afters as I put my basil on the shelves. I will sort out its placement later, but it was a lot of basil. Very tasty, very excited. Okie dokie, so then we're starting to get to things that I have canned. So this is bruschetta. I keep meaning to taste it. I haven't tasted it. I think this is going to have, I followed the ball recipe. I think this is going to have way too much oregano for me. I think next time I'll just put dried basil in because that's my jam with tomatoes. I've still got dried nectarines, both powdered and sliced, and dried peaches and raspberries, and still more mango bits. And I even did some mango yogurt drops, so I just blitzed the mango in with the yogurt and tested that out. But again, I can't eat that because it's dairy, so I mean, first world problems, but it's just irritating because I put all this work into things and I can't enjoy it, and I still have to work out what to do with it and whether it's worth giving it away. And these are freeze-dried blackberries. My blackberry plant is coming along beautifully, and we are going to have to go out and do some sort of staking system together, guys, because it's gone from being like this big to big, really big. These were the blueberry syrup, but the other day when I went to open them, I found that each and every one had some sort of weird black liquid on the top, and it wasn't from the blueberries. Some of the lids I have found, like, I mean, obviously this is not one of them because otherwise I would have chucked it, but like a thick black residue on them. I don't know what causes that, but it might be wasteful, but I'm of the opinion that if in doubt, chuck it out. Especially when it comes to canning, because I have enough health problems without botulism. So, and I don't know enough about canning to know that it's safe, and when I ask people on canning websites, they're like, I would get rid of that. So I just ended up having to chuck out all the blueberry syrup, which is really sad. I don't know if it had just passed its use by date, because it has been 12 months almost exactly, or maybe 13 since I made that. But culinary lavender, and I've got some blueberry and lavender jam which I picked up in Tasmania, and some lavender and blueberry syrup which I'm yet to try, really want to. This I canned the other day. So this recipe I got from Laura, a garden answer. She made something called the best marinara sauce, and I have 4 of these, and I've eaten one because I wanted to make sure that it was worth the effort of making it. I thought it would have more herby flavor, so I would be inclined to put in more herbs, but I need to do research to see how much I can freestyle and put in more dried herbs. But it is really tasty in that this is all with homegrown tomatoes. Last year I had a huge amount of trouble with fruit fly and tomatoes. This year, not so much. And so I have probably about 20 kilos, maybe more, of tomatoes that I have to deal with in the freezer now. in these 4 jars is 5.5 kilos of tomatoes. It's just crazy that they'd only turned into 4 little jars. But it's a beautiful thick sauce, and it's interestingly orange, and most tomato sauces, I wonder if they actually dye them red to make them look like a tomato. So that would be interesting to know. So that is peeled and de-seeded tomatoes, and canned beautifully, but took a lot of work. And what drives me crazy with a lot of canning recipes is that they say it's like 15 minutes prep, and it's like, what? Peeling and de-seeding 5.5 kilos of tomatoes is never going to be 15 minutes prep time, even if you're like so good at canning and you're not a newbie like me, so whatever. This is one of the other reasons I need to get more mangoes, because I canned blueberry mango syrup or blueberry mango sauce, and I'm down to my last one, and it is very, very tasty, amazing. What I have learned is that being in a single person household is this style of jar or larger is less useful to me than this. Then we've got jams and things that I bought at Fates and markets and things like that. And then we have the peach and apricot butters that I made, which I haven't really used at all because I'm not a jam person, and I thought peach butter sounded amazing. And I thought it would be different to jam, and it's really not. So I haven't really done much with that. This is one of the first things I canned, and this is strawberry lemonade concentrate, and I enjoyed it so much that I actually canned some more. And then because of the no sugar, I couldn't drink it and have since forgotten about it. So I need to get back into drinking this, because that is part of the reason why I'm growing my own strawberries, and I really want to like have a mass of homegrown strawberries and homegrown blueberries that I can make more of this with, because it's better for me than drinking Coke, and that is my poison of choice. And it's really tasty. It really is lovely, but my strawberries and blueberries never make it in the house at this point. Then we have got peach tomato salsa. I put a quarter of the spice ingredients in when I canned this the first time, and I'm so glad I did, because this is spicy AF, and I am not a spice person, full disclosure, but I still have like 5 of the spicy ones and only 2 of the mild ones where I put even less in, and I love this, love it. So the fact that I can't have cheese, like real cheese, and the vegan cheese that I have found thus far doesn't melt properly and is therefore unsatisfying most of the time. Tastes fine, but it's unsatisfying. When I have nachos, I just dump this on top, and I don't even notice that there's no cheese, and I'm just hoovering that down. It's amazing. I've got mango salsa, which for some reason I still haven't got around to tasting. The top of that looks a bit brown, so we will assess. And again, something else I haven't got around to trying yet, which is the cucumber relish. What I have discovered is that I am terrible with relishes. I don't really know how to use them. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I don't really know how to use them. The zucchini relish I went mad for, and my best friend went mad for, so I made a ton of this. We still have 5 jars left over, and I sent her off with 3 the other day. I really liked this on like a chicken burrito, but I can't eat chicken anymore, and I can't eat cheese, so I can't have cheese and crackers with the relish. So again, I don't know what to do with it. Then down here we have 50 million cans of puppy bone broth. So by puppy bone broth, I mean no onions, and just puppy friendly ingredients. Interestingly, my dogs aren't keen on canned bone broth. My best friend's dog thinks I'm the broth lady, and he loves me, and all other dogs love it. Mine too are like, I really like my broth fresh, thanks. So it's been fun. So then we are down to the last pantry, which is a walk-in one. So this is kind of cool. This was made by the kitchen company. On the other side of this, they made a linen cupboard, and that was the way of blocking off the hallway and yeah, the original door. This was where they walked in. I don't know why I forgot about that, but anyway. So the original door to get into this bedroom, and then they made a linen cupboard that went to the bathroom door on the other side. The linen cupboard has been a lifesaver, and obviously this has been too, because it is full. This is just your general everyday stuff. So it is like my salt, tomato paste. It's all my canned goods. So part of the reason why I haven't chock-a-blocked some of the shelves in the other cupboards that we've looked at is that I'm concerned that over time those shelves will bow. These ones are way more hardy and way more able to take weight because that's what they were designed for. And so I've got all my oil, all my canned goods here, like cans of beans, cans of corn, cans of, you know, all the stuff you buy in bulk from Costco. And I've also got my like gluten-free pastas and things like that. But that's, you know, nothing exciting, just lots of regular supermarket stuff jammed in and overflowing all over the floor. So I hope you guys have enjoyed hanging out with us in this crazy, cluttered, whoa, puppy-filled, brand new pantry. Obviously, over time this is going to change a lot, especially as I finally get around to canning some more and using the freeze dryer some more. And having some time. But I hope you guys have enjoyed the tour. I hope it wasn't too long-winded. I hope that you found it interesting, but there was a lot to update you on. So if I was long-winded, that's why. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I will hopefully see you in the next one. And thank you so much for hanging out with us today in our messy pantry.